Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. So, as you can see, we have a very esteemed panel sitting here. Just before this session, Sanjay asked his last question about Marcom, whether Marcom is treated as an expense, you cut down the expense, and Charat answered that yes, Marcom is considered as an expense. And on the first opportunity, whenever there is a requirement, they cut down the Marcom budgets. I don't think that's true. That was true long time back, and that's what the panel is going to prove, because we will talk about DNA of profitability, marketing. I remember there was a time, let's say about a decade back or something, we had a PR agency. Every quarter they would present us a report saying that they have added so much of PR value to our business. And honestly speaking, I was aghast. I used to think, yeah, the way they are showing me the PR value, in 2 quarters flat, their PR value will exceed my turnover itself. So I asked them, please stop it. I don't want to understand the PR value. However, the things have changed now. Now most of the CEOs don't look at the PR value. They're also looking at the profits and the ROI that the marketing efforts give it to them. And that's what I wanted to tell Charat and the panel just before me, that marketing is not an expense anymore. It's an investment where you need ROIs. And that's what my belief is, that most of the CEOs track that ROI pretty well. And with that thought, I would like to start with this panel discussion, where I have extremely great panel with me with different kind of background. So let me start with Satyen. May I ask you a question? Satyen, tell me, and building on the same question, what is the impact of marketing on your brand profitability, on your brand's profits, ROI, etc., that you look at? And please also tell me that what are your main channels, preferred channels of marketing?
Very nice, Rajesh. So I think you really nailed it right. I think marketing is not an expense, it's an investment. And
please bring it closer to your mouth.
Yeah. Any investment needs to have an ROI. So honestly, I'm a big believer of marketing, and I think whatever drives growth, whatever drives consumer engagement is an investment. But we've got to be very clear on having clear targets of what you really expect from a marketing campaign. And if you're really very clear on the KPIs before you even launch the campaign, before you even develop the campaign or distribute the campaign, I think you've got to really get your matrix right, whether it's on the awareness matrix, on what do you expect. So for me, I've seen a campaign which is well executed, delivers between 4x to a 6x revenue growth. So which is one thumb rule, which I always look at. So if you're going to spend about a 5 crore on a campaign, are you really driving about 25 to 28 crore top line revenue, which would take care of some part of your, obviously the EBITDA which you make will take care of some part of your funding. So I think that's one which we normally really keep very a close eye on. And I think second is, so just to give you a live example, we are going to launch a campaign next month, and I have a new marketing head which is joined. And today afternoon, we had this discussion, and he was telling me, honestly, will it be so easy to correlate revenue and EBITDA which we make to marketing? I think that's the mantra. If you're not able to really do that well, then I don't think we'll be able to invest again and again in that campaign. And if you don't believe in that, and if you really want to do it again and again, it has to be linked to profitability. So I think something which really drives growth and drives your EBITDA is something which you'll really invest more in. So like example, if you do stores, and if we know stores drive us revenue and profitability, we really open more and more stores. So I think that's sort of a mindset is something which we really work with. And I think that's been the first thumb rule. The other one on, you said channels which you...
Yeah, the marketing channels.
Yeah.
That what are your most preferred channels of marketing?
Yeah. So I think about 4 years back or 5 years back, it was a mix of traditional media, which was about 60% traditional media and about 30-40% digital and the retainers. But if I were to look at the last 3 years or 3.5 years, it's actually changed completely. So we are about 70% digital and maybe a 25-30% traditional. And I think what really works on the digital one is your very clear analysis of what you're really gaining out of the campaign, and whether it's the click-through rates, whether your traffic to your website, whether your revenue growth. I think even if I look at the IPL current, which is going to happen with Jio, I think they've got a very wonderful way of actually looking at, and normally with television, you couldn't really track the ROIs, and you couldn't really see how many people actually viewed the ad, how many were engaged, because the ads playing people are in the kitchen or people are really eating something. So I don't know. But here, you are really able to see how many of them saw it, how many of those engaged with it. So I think the digital medium is something which we are really currently more and more moving towards.
Absolutely bang on. I believe that why CEOs are also more focused on ROI, because now they can actually map the ROI. Earlier, in print media or something, or PR, you would just give an ad or you would give some BTL activities and you wouldn't know whether your right TG has seen it or no and what revenue it has generated. But today, I think with the help of digital marketing, you can actually map that ROI has come or no. Amazing, amazing. I would also urge all the people sitting in the audience, please keep your questions ready. At the end of the session, if we do have some time, we would request you that please do ask some questions from this esteemed panel that we have. So, coming to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, we have seen that customers are evolving, their preferences are changing, and similarly, the avenues for marketing are also changing. Newer technologies are coming. So on a lighter note, I just want to ask you, have there been some days where you would have thought, yes, I have cracked the code. Now this will deliver me an amazing ROI. I will be able to reach out to my customers. Do you have any such feeling on some days when you get up and you say that, yes, I have cracked it?
Well, Rajesh, actually, no. The answer is no. Because, you really never crack the code. I mean, all of us with so many years of experience, I think the only thing that we have learned is change is the only constant, and you keep innovating, you keep going there. But I think your question was more in terms of, how do we move into, better technologies which kind of take our brand from being good to great.
Yes, you can answer that also. My question was basically that, have you been able to crack that code where you can connect with the customers?
Okay, yes. So to a large extent, what we do is actually taking from what Satyen was saying, that, earlier, and all of us have been a lot of young faces I see here, but we all have now completed nearly 2.5 decades of being in retail. And like we started with, a certain code, which used to be open it big, open it large, open it on the high street, and there the customer comes.
Yeah.
Well, that's no longer there. It doesn't work. So for us, cracking the code was to basically connect with the consumer. And the connection with the consumer has undergone some very serious change. Today, as we speak, most of our connect happens over the digital media, where we think we have cracked the code, but we are still on a journey.
Amazing, yeah.
And we have not seen where that journey ends, right? It has given us some phenomenal results, and as Satyen was just mentioning that, data analytics has become, something that we live with every day morning in terms of how many, for a particular promotion, what kind of, click rates have gone in, how many people have walked in, what is their browsing time, whether they have bought, they have not bought, how much is in the cart, how do we convert from the cart. All of those data keep flowing. So yes, I mean, to a large extent, you can put your finger on and say that, okay, this is how much I invest in my digital marketing, and this is where it is. So from that point of view, yes. However, I have also another take that not every piece of marketing can have an ROI, right? So what you do with certain marketing activities which you do, which is based on data-led, activities, which mostly comes from digital. But hey, I mean, come on. I mean, here I am launching my spring, summer, and let's say I put up, a couple of hoardings across the country. I do a couple of campaigns on newspaper. Well, we say that, yeah, footfall has increased in the store.
Yeah.
But is that because of the new season merchandise and USS getting over? Or is it because of that hoarding? So you can't put a finger to it. But yeah, to a large extent, when it comes to digitization, you can. So from that point of view, we have cracked a lot of codes with Gen Z and millennials. And that's where the stickiness of the Gen Z and millennial, consumer is very high with us.
So right there, so building on this Gen Z and digital and technology, I would like to ask you, Indranath, do you think, we keep hearing about this technology, reaching out to Gen Z, etc., but do you think there is a fear in the mind of the brands around not being able to connect with the Gen Z, and that's why they're using this new technology? And actually, if you see, this technology or Gen Z, they may not actually deliver the core business of most of the brands. But despite that, many brands are continuing to do this. They want to connect to technology. They want to reach out to them. What is your view on this? About your brand, Sanjeev, I know that you were looking very strangely at me, but I'm not talking about your brand, but there are several brands for whom the core business doesn't necessarily come from this technological evolution or from the Gen Z.
Right, that's a very interesting question, Rajesh. So I think definitely there is some fear. There is a fear of missing out, I would say,
Yeah.
FOMO, when it comes to newer technologies. So definitely nobody wants to be left out from the next big thing. And generally these technologies, I think, work in a certain way where the early bird catches the worm, So, am I right? So whether it's the social media platforms or whether it's AI or VR, everybody wants to be early to the platform to maximize their presence on that platform. But on the flip side, I think we have to be careful, brands have to be careful that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Because the most important thing is your product consumer market fit. Okay, so for example, what I'm trying to say, maybe if I relate to my brand, Kompanero, so a 16 or 17-year-old person is not our customer segment at all. So I think your question was geared towards younger generations.
Yeah.
So no matter what I spend on, a certain marketing platform or a certain outreach or technological platform to reach out to 16 or 17-year-olds is not going to give me results. So that's where we have to be careful, because we have to curate. Definitely that, I truly believe that technology solves most problems. I'm a big believer of technology, but we have to curate that which technology we choose to, invest in and spend our time on. Just in the previous session, somebody was talking about, if somebody else is burning money on every platform, sometimes it's better to just sit back and relax and watch the show than jumping onto every platform without thinking it through. For us, definitely, we invest in technology, but we would curate it as per our requirement.
And you would look at the ROI also there?
Yeah, definitely. So we are a relatively newer brand, so most of our marketing budget is digital. And one of the key things that I personally prefer is that because we can track it, we are a completely bootstrapped company, never raised equity funding. So it's very important for us to track the marketing budgets, every dollar spent, what is the return we are getting. So we, frankly speaking, do not do much hoardings or, traditional advertising, because we cannot understand the return out of it.
So you would not necessarily put your money behind all technologies. You would look at that what technology can deliver value for money, and then only you'll go for it.
Definitely. It has to be little data-driven, and it has to be the correct product consumer fit. We should be able to reach our consumer.
Wonderful.
Not some other segment or demographic.
Wonderful. Jacqueline, you have a very young brand. Okay, is it working?
It's on, yes.
Okay, so you have a very young brand, your TG is very young. Normally,
I'm not.
okay. So you would like to explain something about your brand also so that everybody knows more about your brand a little?
Yes, so my brand, even though it's for the young customer, is actually already 14 years old, so not that young anymore.
That is what I was saying. For us, the 14 years old is definitely young.
Is it? Okay, fine. Yes, but it's not as young as Kompanero.
Yeah, that way we are still a baby brand, just 8 years old, so totally in its infancy.
So I do remember doing hoardings in Guwahati, for that matter. I do remember having to calculate what is the press value of my ads and my product placements, and I thought the same thing, how can it be that much? And then we have changed slowly. We went then to Facebook, and now for my customer, Facebook is no, if you have an ad on Facebook, you're too old. So we do a lot of stuff on Instagram. We do work with influencers, and we do connect our customers not only with our product, but with the value of our brand, and that you cannot get across to your customer in any other way than marketing. You need, so my whole, if I wouldn't do marketing and emotional connectivity marketing, I would be a commodity seller and not a brand. And can I put an ROI on that? Yes, basically whatever I spent there comes back in revenue, because the whole idea of my brand is based on that. I think Ayesha is still one of the very, very few, if not the only, fashion accessory brand for Western jewelry in India.
That's right.
I mean, there are some other fashion jewelry brands, but they're mostly targeting the customer with ethnic jewelry, and nobody is doing any contemporary Western.
So hang on there, Jacqueline. I would like to ask you a question here, because you said you have a differentiated product offering. Considering that your product offering is differentiated, that your target customer would also be somewhat different, how easy or how difficult it is for you to reach out to your TG? You said you're using Facebook, you are using all the social media platforms, etc. But how easy or how difficult it is to reach out to your TG?
Well, Meta has done the work for us, right? So we can choose on Instagram or on Google or wherever, on all the digital platforms, we can choose our target group we want to send the advertising to. So whether that is gender, is it a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 city, is it somebody who is interested in fashion, is the keyword, whatever it might be. And then you analyze the data. You just see it, you put a video out, you put a reel out, you put anything out in the social media digital world, and you can see immediate reactions. You can see whether it goes viral, you can see whether you got 2 likes, and if you do that in an organic matter, you can even judge it more. If you do paid advertising there, which we all do, then it is a little bit more difficult to see whether the content really relates to you or whether it's just the big boost which is doing it. What we do a lot is contests, because everybody likes to get something free, and you get an incredible response from the younger, Generation Z and Alpha. They want to have something to say themselves. That's what I said in the morning. You need to listen to what they say, and who says it, and that's how you identify your target customer. Even though I have to say, the first couple of times I did contests, I was super surprised that there were a lot of people, like 40, 50-year-old ladies, responding to my contest, who were sitting in the middle of nowhere of India.
Sure, thanks. I'm sorry, I'll have to cut it here because I see the time clicking there, and we have very short time. So first part was more about ROI, how you get ROI from marketing. I would just quickly touch upon your strategies also, and I would request all of you to keep your answers very, very brief because we don't have too much of time. So let me start, Sanjeev, with you. Sanjeev, we keep hearing about AI, VR, metaverse. Now, these technologies that are emerging very fast, what do you think from a strategy perspective? Are these really impactful? Or do you think that these are currently only marketing gimmicks, later on maybe in future they will become relevant? Or what are the technologies out of them you think are relevant? And I would request you to keep your answer brief because we don't have too much of time.
1 minute. We are used to 1 minute from morning. Yeah. Okay, so I'll keep it brief. 6 years back, India Fashion Forum, I think Rajesh, you were on my panel, and we were talking about omni-channel. And a couple of omni-channel companies who are there, very well established today, were actually outside saying, sir, have you heard about omni-channel? 6, 7 years back, omni-channel, we do omni-channel, have you heard about it? And that's the time when we said that, you know, omni-channel has to be a part of our daily lives in retail. Today, omni-channel is a part of every single retailer's daily life. AI, AR, all of that is going to become a part of our daily life. In some way or the other, through various interventions of technology, we are any which ways getting into it. I'm again making this point that today a metaverse store is what gives you, I mean, at least for us, when we are evaluating to open a store in the metaverse, we know there's no ROI there. But we have to invest. So therefore, it's the same story. You know, the kind of evolution that is happening, the discovery that happens on the mobile phone, on our handheld devices, that's where the discovery happens, that's where the decision happens. And I'm not saying that brick and mortar stores will not have technology. Today morning, we have heard some of the big voices of retail say that, you know, there's going to be more technology that's going to be invested into offline rather than online. And I completely agree to it. That, you know, that's how it's going to be, and there's going to be a balance. But then technologies are important because now it has become a part of our, literally a part of our skin. We can't do without it. And that's the way forward. And there goes my 1 minute.
Good, thank you, thank you. Then Satyen, when you talked about digital marketing, now digital marketing is something that actually leads to call to action. Call to action is usually associated with your direct distribution channel, and I believe that you have a huge presence in MBOs. How do you use your digital marketing to cater to the customers who are coming to your MBOs? And again, keep your answer short because we don't have too much of time.
No, so I think the first basic principle we apply is we do retail. So whether we are doing it in a shop-in shop.
Could you please bring it closer to your mouth?
Whether we are doing it in a shop-in shop or whether we're doing it in an MBO or we are doing it in our store, we are doing retail and reaching out to the consumer. So the experience to the consumer has to be very similar what we would deliver in a store, whether it's from the store fixture, whether it is the merchandise assortment, whether it is our people on the floor. And when we do marketing, when we connect with our big bets, we've got 3 big calendarization which we do on our product big bets, whether it's summer, we do the summer fest with linen, whether we do with the denim or whether we do it with our winter wear.
So you make them more aware about your brand and your product.
So we do a 360 approach with our key accounts in MBO where we really bring it to life all these 3 festivals. So it's not just restricted to a standalone store or only in the windows in the store or activation only digital, but we really bring it alive there also. And I think that's the approach which we've taken.
Perfect. You don't have your own brand.com in India?
No, so we have our own brand.com and it's delivers definitely a very good...
so that is where you would do digital marketing which will lead to call to action so that customers can directly land on your site and start
just
buying.
To give you an example on the MBO part, so if we don't have a store or any in that market, and if someone has searched for jackets near me, we work with a startup which actually helps list up the stores where multi-brand outlets where Celio jackets are available. And I think it also includes the call telephone number of that multi-brand outlet. And we also have recordings of people when they call up to that multi-brand outlet and who's attended it. So I think it's a approach. I think India has got an outstanding startup ecosystem. You really use it to your advantage, and it just gives you wonderful results.
I think that's very clear. Thank you, Satyen. And Indranath, I would like to ask a question from you, and it's related to post-COVID era. Of course, COVID has been over for more than a year now. However, I'm asking you this question because I was reading somewhere that you have more than 50% of your sales coming from international markets. Has anything changed post-COVID? And plus, I think a lot of us would be curious to understand, how do you reach out to your international customers sitting here in India? Can you throw some light on that?
Again, great question. You're right. We have a huge majority of our sales for Kompanero and our company coming from international markets. And for Kompanero per se, we have a very strong distribution network internationally, where we sell in more than 1,000 plus point of sales across the world. So this
More than 1,000?
Yeah, more than 1,000 through our distribution network.
And
so
how many of them
these
you
are
have
not
in India?
exclusive. Sorry?
How many point of sales you have in India?
So that's the difference. So we have about 25 exclusive outlets in India. Okay,
Yeah.
in India we only operate in an exclusive outlet format.
Okay.
But internationally we couldn't afford to open 1,000 exclusive outlets. So we have a distribution model where we have shop-in-shops and counters and point of sales where it's one in Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, France, Japan.
How do you reach out to that customer? Because this is more related to the session is more about marketing. So I just want to understand how do you connect with that customer which is there in the
Actually,
market?
we have distribution partners in every country, and in every country we have a individual singular distribution partner. And for everything related to that country, we strategize with them. We localize not only our product fit but also our communication, our brand communication, while keeping the overall literature and the language of the brand same. But there is certain localization required for Australia, which is way different from what is required for a Japan. Okay, so that's what. There's a certain amount of localization required, and then we have our digital. Post-COVID, everybody has increased.
So
their
you
digital
customize all your communication as per that country's needs, and you don't do it centrally sitting here in India. Each and every country does it separately. Thank you very much. If that is true, is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, Jacqueline. One last question. I have very limited time, only 4.5 minutes left. In your business, do you have a contribution of both online and offline, or you do only offline?
No, I think I jumped on the online train a little late, but we do about 60% offline still, and now about 40% online.
40%?
Yes.
That's huge. You're saying that you're late. I don't think many of the retailers sitting here or who are offline as well as offline would be doing 40% of their business online. That's huge. But tell me, if you have that kind of a percentage, how do you differentiate when you communicate with your customers?
Yeah,
you have a separate communication strategy for your online customer and separate for offline,
well,
or how do you do it?
it's not 40% online business from my own website. I wish that would be the case.
No, I'm
but
saying
it's not.
total online, including third party.
Yeah, so I think that's my biggest challenge with the online business. How do I get my brand image across on a Myntra or on any of the other marketplaces? And that's where I said, I don't want to be a commodity seller, because that's what the danger is on e-commerce. So I remember in the beginning, all the marketplaces forced me to use their models as models for the model shoots. And I fought really, really hard to use mine, because it's not only my product, but also what they're wearing, how they're looking, what type of model I'm using. I'm not using the standard.
Don't worry, we all are in the same boat.
Yeah,
So you're not alone there.
Yeah,
And it actually helps at times.
Maybe, but I did not want that help. So I managed to do that. Then I have managed to convince all the marketplaces to give me an online store where I can do a little bit of my story of my store, etc., etc. And yeah, so, but basically the communication to the customer is the same, and I hope that because of the offline presence and because of the aspirational value of my brand, when a customer goes to Myntra or any of those fashion sites, they say, oh, there's Ayesha also. So there's a recognition already from the offline presence, which then transfers into the online business.
Oh, that's amazing. Great. So I don't have time, mindful of time. We have only 2.5 minutes left. Any questions from the audience? And please do ask some questions. Any questions? Yes, please.
So, like we have understood that digital marketing is becoming core. So, when in an organization you want to like have an agency being appointed or have a core team built behind it for the digital marketing from long term, how do you decide on that?
Tell me, if you could kindly introduce yourself first.
I am Harshit from Arvind Fashions.
Okay, and is this question targeted to
Any of the panel.
Okay. So for digital marketing, because all of us are gung-ho about digital marketing, do you do it through your in-house team, or you have engaged some digital marketing agency? Is that the right question that, that's what you asked? Yeah?
Yeah, okay. So, see, it depends, all right? So it depends on how lean you want your team to be, because there are some excellent guys out there who can do the job for you. And then as and when you want the intensity to increase and the cost is increasing outside with anybody and you want to bring in some good people in-house to do the same, well, that's great. But also understand that the kind of investments that you do when you get into digital marketing and the kind of packages that we get with third-party companies who do this for us, if you actually invest that kind of money, how often do you use it? I mean, is it on a daily basis that you are kind of posting your flat lay shoots, your models are getting shot, you are putting that up on a daily basis? How many stories are you doing per day? So it all depends on that. And at some point in time, I hope what you say is right, that, maybe we should start engaging, having our own teams. As Ayesha says, 40% online. Yeah. Man, hats off, because, that's something which we all would
We have never heard of it. Of course, that's the aspiration,
right
yes.
hand to be in. And yeah, so it all depends upon, how much of work that you are actually wanting to outsource, and depending on that, you decide. Satyen, you want something to say?
No, I think
I just wanted to say that I was very clever. I hired an influencer as my PR person.
Just to add to that, I would just like to add something from my end. I think the digital marketing agency, they are specialized professionals, which perhaps we can't develop in-house. However, having said that, you outsource that work which is not your core area, but at the same time, you have to have some team, 1 or 2 persons, even if it's a smaller business, to interact with them, to coordinate, to tell them that what is it that your brand is looking for. Any other question?
Thanks.
Yes, please. Oh, time's up. Not even one question? Sorry. Maybe offline. You can take it offline. Thank you. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a beautiful audience, a great audience. Thank you very much.